Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the What's in the Pod podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about some films involving beings from outer space, alien films. But none of those xenomorph aliens. We're going to be talking about some,
Real aliens.
some real aliens. You know, the kind that come in on flying saucers and live on other planets. Those types of aliens. So, go ahead, Michael. Introduce yourself.
Yep. My name's Michael.
And as always, we have another brother from the same mother sending in his reviews. So we're going to get Brad's scores on all the films we go over.
Via text. I heard that they were texted in this week.
Yeah. He normally did an email, but he decided to text him this time. Mix it up a bit. So, let's jump right
first movie
into
we're going
it.
to talk about today is, of course, Starship Buckin' Troopers.
Yeah, buddy. This
Balls
is...
to the walls. Terrible movie.
No.
Awesomeness. Awesomeness. You didn't let me finish.
It's
You
not
didn't let
even...
me finish.
It's not even
It's
a
terrible.
bad movie.
It's bad. It's bad.
meant to be...
Bad.
No, it's meant to be kind of comically
Terrible.
bad and satirical.
Well, you just used the B word, so I think it's bad.
Well,
It's so bad.
fun fact about this movie, it is the first movie I remember actually seeing in theaters. And it's also the movie that got me into the horror genre and made me want to become a filmmaker. Because growing up, I would always turn this movie on and watch like half of it in the morning before school and then wake up really early the next day and watch the second half. And I did that for months, just watching this movie on repeat, basically.
This
I
movie
love
came
this
out when
movie.
you were 4.
Yeah, I remember seeing it in theaters.
4.
I had a weird childhood.
I think that was actually the trip where we were going somewhere, and then you asked Dad if this was our hotel, and then he got like really pissed.
No, different trip.
Was it?
Yeah, this was back home
Huh.
because I remember going and seeing it in theaters. And then
By yourself? 4 years old?
Yeah, they thought I was 18 at the
I
time.
don't know if that's how it happened.
It's debatable.
Fun fact about this terrible movie, it was nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, I think for like best visual effects or something like that.
That is the stupidest thing ever.
So somebody I work with, I was gonna try to get in contact with this person just to ask them a bunch of questions for the podcast. Somebody I work with has a friend from high school who is an extra in this film, and they were
Well,
telling
that is neat.
that is pretty neat. He was saying like he was dressed up as one of the
Hey, bugs.
no, one of the troopers. Just to
Oh.
kind of like in the background, he's like, yeah, they just had like a bunch of us put on like costumes and stuff, and it was kind of cool. They paid us for like
Wow.
$100 for the day or whatever he was saying.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
Fun fact, I guess. That's kind of cool. Yeah, it's it's definitely a watchable movie. It's definitely a movie I'll watch probably another 20, 25 times for the remainder of my life. I mean, you can definitely turn it on and get some entertainment value of it. But the more and more you watch it, it's just the acting is garbage. Everything that they say is just stupid. Like, there's no fluent conversation. It's bad. It's like one line after one line after one line. There's no real dialogue, so to speak. It's just a bunch of crap. Just a bunch of crap. And the football game, though, was pretty cool. It was kind of neat to see that. Like, I don't know if that was a high school sporting event or if it was like that. Kind of didn't make sense because the one dude was like 40 years old and everybody else was supposedly just graduating high school. But yeah,
because he
I mean,
was
it
already
worked.
in the military, wasn't he? Because he was an established officer at the time.
Yeah.
That's a really
yeah.
good point I never thought of before.
Yeah, well, that was what I was kind of saying. I mean, obviously, all of the characters in the movie are clearly over the age of,
High school.
what they would have been a high school age, which is actually kind of funny because the way you look at it, the Patrick Muldoon, his character, God, I can't think of his stupid name right now, Xander, always kind of appeared to be significantly older, but actually him and Casper Van Dien are just about the same age. So,
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, one of them's not aging that well.
No.
Casper Van Dien seems, or maybe it's like the power makeup. Maybe that's what they got an Oscar for the visual effects there.
What did it get an Oscar nomination for?
That was visual effects.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Or, yeah, best effects, visual effects.
Which, I do have to say, for as bad as you're trying to make this movie out to be, the visual effects do really hold up really well because they do a really good job of mixing the practical effects with the bugs and like people getting limbs ripped off and chopped in half and all that, and mixing that with kind of like the early versions of CGI, which at some points looks kind of terrible, mostly with like the fire and people melting. But honestly, for the most part, this movie still kind of holds up.
Yeah. Like I said, it's definitely watchable. I mean,
it's very
from
watchable.
A cinematic aspect, it's just garbage. But
it's one of those movies that if I find out a friend hasn't seen it, I just kind of look at him and I go, "You know what to do," and then we watch it.
You could just spend a whole day shouting one-liners from this movie at somebody and have a great day. I mean, that'd be like just a great day, just sitting, "Nuke 'em, Rico!"
What's your malfunction, Rico?
During a live fire exercise.
10 lashings.
10 lashes.
Bite down on this, son. It'll help.
Get to the back of the line like everyone else.
Hey, I like you. Everybody needs a friend like me. I'm honored.
Okay.
We should just take the rest of this podcast and just quote it. Just little one-liners. Screw the other films.
Do it. But anyways,
that's all the lines I can remember.
Yeah, so we didn't watch them for this, and I have actually not seen any of them. But are they up to like 6 sequels for this movie or something now?
Unfortunately, I have seen them, and there's a sequel to this one involving the brain bug, which is like number 2, where it's kind of more of like a who's infected type of movie, kind of like The Thing, and it's terrible. And then there's another one, I think it's the third one, called Marauders, which brings back Casper Van Dien, and then they're kind of going back onto the Bug Island and or world, and it's terrible. And now they've recently released some animated ones, which I haven't seen, but
really?
I heard that they're terrible. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I see it right here. Interesting. Yeah. I didn't know that.
I don't think they have more than
Casper Van Dien and Dina Meyer come back to voice characters on this movie, so that's kind of cool. And
we have to point out the standout performance of the film from Denise Richards.
I was going to say Jake Busey, but sure.
Who is also known for her role in Tammy and the T-Rex. Which, if you don't know about Tammy and the T-Rex, that's a movie, and I shit you not, this is what the movie is about. Her boyfriend, Paul Walker, gets in a car accident and dies, and gets reincarnated into a dinosaur.
Did not see that coming.
Yeah, that's what this movie's about.
T-Rex. Oh my gosh.
Why
didn't we watch this movie for the fucking podcast?
Hey, honestly, if you want to do a dinosaur episode, we got Tammy and the T-Rex.
Done.
We have Theodore Rex with Whoopi Goldberg playing a cop, and her partner is a dinosaur.
My God, I remember that movie.
What do you mean? It's a dinosaur. Yeah, it's your new partner. But it's a dinosaur. And then you also have like the Carnosaur movies, Carnosaur 1 and 2, which are the rip-offs of Jurassic Park. We got many options.
And I think, technically speaking, we could add Super Mario Brothers into that as well, because they were kind of dinosaurs.
I'm okay with this.
Yes.
That is a classic film. I enjoy it a lot.
But, yeah, anyways, another cool thing that I like about looking back at movies back from the 90s and stuff like that is where people's careers have kind of taken them. I think it's really cool to see in this movie in particular. I always love seeing
only one person or 2 people in this movie's career actually went anywhere after this movie.
Hey, let me finish. to see the guy who played Father Gabriel in Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Seth Gilliam, I think his name is, something like that. I always thought, he kind of played a pretty good part in Starship Troopers. He was a memorable character.
Yeah, he sacrifices himself at the end.
Seen him for the first time in Walking Dead, I was like, oh my god, it's the guy from Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
And now when I rewatched it, Samantha, she was like, isn't that the guy from Walking Dead? I'm like, no, it's the guy from Starship Troopers.
Who's now in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, don't you forget it. The other one of note,
Mr. Krabs is in this movie. Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob, Clancy Brown.
Ooh, yeah. He definitely is in there. But I was actually thinking Michael Ironside.
Yes,
he was one of the. Is great in basically everything that he's been in.
Well, and he's in all the Paul Verhoeven films, I believe. He may not have been in RoboCop, but he was in like Total Recall.
I don't remember if he was in RoboCop or not. I'm looking it up right now, but I know that he was definitely in some of those. But yeah, I mean, he's just kind of like that sort of bit character. I actually really liked him in Terminator Salvation. I thought he was pretty cool in that, even though he was very briefly in it.
I don't even remember him being in it.
Yeah, he was like the dude who he was kind of like the guy who was actually in charge, because Christian Bale's character was not, technically in charge. He was just more of like the, I guess you could say, like Messiah type person, because he had all that bullshit about going back in time.
Yeah.
But he was like in the submarine the whole time, I think. And but yeah, I mean, just anything that guy's in, he's always kind of that weird, sort of creepy dude who's in charge or like bad guy. And he's usually pretty awesome in everything he does.
Did you ever see Turbo Kid?
I don't think so.
Came out like 2-3 years ago. That movie is
definitely not.
Fucking amazing. Anybody who's listening, which is probably just a couple people, check out that movie. Turbo Kid is amazing. Michael Ironside is probably the best part of the movie.
Ooh, in a post-apocalyptic wasteland in 1997.
It's just
so basically the same year that Starship Troopers came out.
Yeah, and it's just a throwback to like 80s over-the-top, just mindless films, and it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it.
Sweet. I will definitely have to check that out.
But since we're talking so much about Starship Troopers, maybe we can go on to the next one.
Well, obviously, I just do want to point out for the record, so we don't get in trouble when we become famous, another person whose career actually took off after this movie, or during, kind of before as well, but Neil Patrick Harris is actually in the movie too. I totally forgot that.
Yeah,
there's I saw his name, and I'm like, oh yeah, that guy became pretty famous, didn't he?
That scene from the second Harold and Kumar film, they reference it because Rob Corddry's character is like a huge fan of Neil Patrick Harris, and he salutes him and everything. He's like, "Thank you, what you did for the planet Earth against the bugs, sir." And he's tripping on mushrooms, and he's like, "Thank you, I love you. I love you too, sir." That's like the best part of the movie. But let's move on to, for time's sake, so we don't get to another 2.5 hour long podcast.
Yeah, we got a couple complaint emails last week about that one.
Speaking of emails, Brad's score for Starship Troopers.
I thought they were texts. Textuses.
All right, we're gonna.
It matters.
It doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't matter to you because he probably actually texts you back when you text him.
Yeah, we text all the time. We talk about the UFC fights.
No, you don't. You're a liar.
And he sent me a picture the other day, or he sent me a question. He said, if Pinocchio says his nose will grow, will it? And we had an argument about it because I'm not going to get into the semantics of it. But let's move on to... Oh, he gave it Starship Troopers a 10 out of 10. Oh. And he said, this flick is the bomb.
With that exact spelling.
Yeah, he said like BOOOWWMBB.
Huh.
Boom. But let's move on to Mars Attacks. And
Yes.
I am only going to review this movie in a way so the aliens can understand.
Sure.
So, starting now.
Well, so I guess I'll interview then for the sake of continuity. What did you think about this Tim Burton film called Mars Attacks with an exclamation point after the title name? Yeah, that's very interesting. Now, when you say do you actually mean that like Okay. Now, I guess what was your favorite part about the movie then?
Durka Durka Durka, Muhammad Jihad.
That's the wrong fucking movie.
Damn it! Durka Durka Durka.
No, we're all right. Shutting down aliens. We're gonna go straight into puppets.
So Team America is a great film.
Talking for 2.5 hours. I could talk longer about that movie than the duration of the actual movie.
Yeah, probably. But, Muhammad Jihad.
Anyways, back on track.
They're headed down Bakalakadaka Street. So
aliens.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Puppets next.
I think the best thing about this movie, other than the fact that Jack Nicholson plays two characters, is just the entire cast of this movie.
The cast is amazing.
And almost every single character dies.
Just about. Except for, I think technically they do die, but Pierce Brosnan and Sarah Jessica Parker's heads.
Yeah. Well, no, because I think
they kind of roll around a bit at the end, but I think there was like an explosion or something.
Yeah, like the ships that they're on crash and all that shit.
This was like one of the first movies for this podcast that I watched, so that was about 3 weeks ago. I'm getting kind of old, so the memory's fading just a bit. But I do have to agree 150% that the two characters that Jack Nicholson plays, those are top notch.
Yeah. He plays the president and he plays that money mogul dude.
Yeah, just total sleazeball guy.
And then, of course, you have Jack Black.
Jack Black, yep. He's very briefly in it, but you get to see basically most of his ass crack, which for some of his fans may be appealing.
It was appealing to me.
That's why I said it. Danny DeVito is in the movie.
He gets killed.
Natalie Portman is in the movie. I don't think she actually dies.
No, she plays the typical Tim Burton angsty teenager in this movie.
Yeah.
And she that means she gets a pass in his eyes.
Fair.
Pam Grier's in it, though.
She is.
Pam Grier is awesome.
She's the mother of two kids that are ditching school to play video games.
And look at that. They saved the president's life.
Can't even imagine doing something like that ever.
Yeah, I would never do that. I was a good student. I actually went to class. I didn't have friends, but I went to class.
Well, because most of them were probably skipping class to play video games.
I don't know who the actor is, but my favorite part of this movie is when the one dude with the long hair is watching the aliens on the TV, and they're in their little donut shop, and the aliens do the little circle, and he's like, look at that, they're making the international sign of the donut.
Lucas Haas. Yeah, the fucking dorky kid who goes and gets his grandma. He was in Inception, I believe.
Oh, and The Revenant.
I think.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't seen The Revenant yet, but yeah, he plays kind of like I guess you could call it like the main. He's kind of like a main focus.
Yeah, he's the
main
hero of the film,
sort of.
Because he finds out what kills the aliens, which is just old timer music.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah, don't
I'm
even
not
try.
even gonna try.
Yeah.
And then you got Jim Brown in the movie.
Yeah.
He's like a retired boxer who dressed up as a pharaoh. I do believe he lives. So actually, like, not everybody dies, it sounds like. Sounds like maybe you jumped the gun on that comment earlier.
Well, Danny
Maybe
DeVito, Jack Black.
It's like 2 people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess you got a point there.
Okay. Moving right along.
Oh, Michael J. Fox is in it.
Michael
He gets
J.
killed.
Fox. Yep.
I kind of
Fox.
noticed he seemed really nervous in the movie. I don't know if he was nervous to be on set, but he was shaking the whole time.
Come on. Come on.
Too far.
This is a family podcast.
So, fun fact, and this is a true story. My first car that I ever got would shake when it wasn't moving, and I called it Michael J. Fox.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
That guy's a legend.
He is.
Legendary actor. He's amazing.
He is. But, name one movie he's known for. Come on, I bet you can't.
Aftershock.
Aftershock. I don't even know what the hell that is. Ooh, Frighteners.
Frighteners, yes.
And whatever the hell, Back to the Future. They say that's like his most known movie, I guess. I don't know.
Which is funny because they actually go to the past in that movie.
No, but they go...
So I don't know why they would call it...
Because they go back to the present, which is the future of the past.
But no. No, they go to the past. And the movie's called Back to the Future. So it doesn't make sense. Anyways...
Maybe you just don't make sense.
Save that dialogue for our time travel podcast coming up, 2020.
When did we discuss this?
We just did. I just talked about it.
Shit, you're right. You know what we should do if we do a time travel episode? Is only review movies we haven't seen but will watch in the future.
Oh, man, that would be totally stupid.
That's the point. It'd be funny.
I'm down.
I think it's a good idea.
For it. Glenn Close is also in the movie.
She is.
The First Lady. Yeah, didn't you watch it?
Yeah.
Glenn Close and Annette Bening.
Yep. And Jack Nicholson.
And Jack Nicholson times 2.
Pierce Brosnan. Danny DeVito.
Yeah, we said all of those.
Lucas Haas. Natalie Portman.
Definitely said those 2 as well. I think, yeah. Outside of basically everything going on in this movie, I thought it was, it's a pretty good movie. It's decent. I mean, it's kind of stupid, kind of crazy.
The effects as compared to the effects compared to Starship Troopers are terrible, and they definitely don't hold up.
I mean, come on,
but
it's an older movie.
It's 1 year older than Starship Troopers.
It's still older.
That's a good point. But I still love how just cheesy the film is. It's a good time. It's just fun when all their heads start blowing up, and I love the scene when the aliens want to apologize, and then they end up like shooting everybody. And then the guy in Russia calls the president, and he's like, "Mr. President, like the aliens, they want to apologize. No, get out of there now!"
So gung-ho about
they all
it,
get
too.
shot.
He's like, "Oh, it's just a miscommunication.
Yeah.
It's totally cool." And then they all fucking die again. I love towards the end of the movie.
When they're holding up the little radios.
People, and they've got the little translator running around, and they're like shouting their gibberish.
We are your
it's
friends.
Like,
we come in
don't
peace.
Run, we come in peace.
We won't
they're
hurt you.
Laughing.
As they're gunning everybody down.
Yeah.
That's the best part. That's what I think about when I think of this movie. That and when they're in the retirement home and they get that big ass cannon and they want to put it right behind the old lady's head just to see what'll happen. Oh, it's fucking great.
It's just a little overkill, but it's definitely funny. Definitely awesome.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, a lot of humor in this flick. A lot of humor. Tim Burton's not usually known for that, though.
Yeah, he is. He's kind of got that dark sense of humor to his films, like Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
Fucking movie's
I don't
great.
like your sarcasm.
You just need to relax. Understand.
See? Oh, God, they're making a Beetlejuice too?
They've been kind of talking about it. I don't know if it's ever going to actually happen.
It's just announced. Never mind.
It'd be kind of cool, though.
I don't know how I feel about
Only, of course, if Michael Keaton reprised his role. Did you know that movie actually won an Oscar?
Did it?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Best makeup.
I can believe that.
Very nice. I did not know that. That is really cool.
That is a fun fact.
I had fun
with that fact. And Brad apparently had fun with Mars Attacks, with an exclamation point, for he gave it a 10 out of 10. And he said that Frank Reynolds should have lived. He's referring to Danny DeVito.
Know who that is.
He plays the character Frank Reynolds in Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that before. Is that like a web series or something that nobody's ever heard of, that nobody ever watches? Something like that, probably.
Something like that.
Basement level creation that nobody will ever see and nobody should ever see.
Dayman. Fighter of the night, man. Champion of the sun. You're a master of karate and friendship for everyone. Dayman.
Anyways, moving right along, because I think we're done with this movie.
Well, before we get to the next movie, I actually have a special guest. He is the star of our next film. He is also the star of such films as The Terminator, Terminator 2. The movie we're talking about is Predator. Everybody welcome Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
We're doing good, Arnold. How are you?
Very well. Thank you, Arnold.
Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you, too.
You as well, sir.
Before we get started, Arnold, you have to do the line.
You son of a bitch.
Always with his shenanigans, right, Arnold? Just do the fucking line. We paid you.
He did it.
Detective John Kimball.
That you are.
This is me, Arnold Schwarzenegger. No problemo.
Cool. Well, are you ready to get into the film?
Yes.
Cool. That's good to hear.
Give me a break.
From what?
Stop shouting.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
Guy.
Apparently we've offended him.
You asshole.
Well,
Weird way to talk.
So I guess Arnold is mad.
Goodbye.
He's leaving. We did something to
nice
offend him.
talking with you.
Yeah. Well, we can still talk about Predator.
Yeah, because I think that now that Arnold's gone, we all know who the real star of this movie was.
Carl Weathers.
It's in fact not Carl Weathers.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm going to go with Kevin Peter Hall.
What?
The man
I don't even know who that is.
He was the Predator. And he also played the helicopter pilot.
Ooh, fun fact.
Or maybe it was the same person and it wasn't actually two different characters. Ooh. Now it's a totally different movie.
Ooh. So
but,
anyways.
I guess to start, being the cynic that I am, I have to say that after rewatching this movie for like the 50th time, this movie is really bad.
What? This movie's a classic.
I know, I'm just kidding. This movie's fucking great.
To say. I mean, parts of it get a little slow in the middle, but
what?
For the most part, this movie holds the fuck
this
up.
This movie is 50% fighting an alien, 20% dialogue you can't understand,
and 100% badass.
Muscular muscles.
I mean, from body mass alone, this movie holds up as one of the most macho films ever made. This is the conversation I didn't want to have. I didn't want to talk about guys' physiques. But come on, Dennis, from body mass alone. You don't get the reference, do you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's Always Sunny. I sent you the clip.
It's like as if you were just quoting a TV show, but like nobody knows about it, so nobody can keep up with what you're saying. If it were like something popular that people actually watched, that'd be a totally different thing. But anyways, did you know, and there's a fun fact here on IMDb that I read after watching it again, that during some of the costume preparation or whatnot, they had a size of shirt for Arnold and then another size of shirt for Jesse Ventura, and the size of the shirt for Ventura's arms was a little bit larger than Arnold's. So, of course, Jesse Ventura was talking it all up, saying that he had bigger arms than Arnold, which was a big deal between these guys back in the day, and probably still now. But it's funny because then they put a wager on it, and Arnold's arms actually were a little bit bigger because he bribed the costume designer to adjust the arm size of Jesse Ventura's shirt so it would seem like he had bigger arms.
That's hilarious.
That's the type of practical joke that I like. I appreciate that. Even though that was a long-winded story that everybody probably just fell asleep listening to, well, I actually thought it was pretty cool. So everyone who just fell asleep, guess what? You're a jerk. You're just a real smelly jerk.
Back in the day, those guys were really kind of competitive, even for roles. Because there's a story that Sylvester Stallone tells. He's like, I can't remember the name of the movie. Maybe it was like, it's something like His Mom Has a Gun. Some crappy movie that Stallone was in. And he said the only reason...
Stop or my mom will shoot?
Yes. And the only reason why he did this movie, apparently, is because Arnold was pretending like he really wanted the role. So he wanted to compete to get the role of the film. Because he's like, well, I can't let Arnold get another movie over me. I got to at least try. So then he got the role right away. And he's like, haha, screw you. And Arnold's like, oh, no, I didn't actually want that movie. I wanted you to take it.
Yeah, because that movie was fucking terrible. Oh my god, I remember watching that as a kid, and it's just bad. It's so bad. Oh, that is funny, though.
Yeah.
That is funny. Despite the
fun fact.
His little interjection here, Arnold Schwarzenegger is actually a pretty funny guy.
Yeah,
I appreciate a lot of the humor that he's got.
Apparently, he's like one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. He actually has somebody, when he's meeting fans and stuff, tap him on the shoulder when he needs to move on. Because he'll just keep talking to the same person like all day until somebody tells him like, hey Arnold, you got like 300 other people here to meet you.
Move it along.
Yeah.
Move it along, Governor.
Which I think is just great about the guy. But, so Predator, that's a movie.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about the actual movie.
I love that this movie is kind of 3 different parts. So you have like they're establishing that like these are the most badass like military guys ever. They go into operations and they just stand in the middle of villages gunning people down. Nothing can kill them. Nothing can stop them. And then they start getting hunted and then they get picked off one by one. You kind of see how vulnerable they are against this like new threat. And then once they're all dead, it turns into Arnold versus Predator, AVP.
Yeah, that'd be an awesome title for a movie.
Arnold versus Predator. Well, that's what the last, 30 minutes of this movie is, once everybody's dead and gone, and he's just setting up traps, putting on mud, figuring more out about the Predator. Yep.
Yeah, I think the whole, first part of it, where they're kind of in the jungle, and you kind of see that sort of camouflagey back image of the Predator kind of walking around. That part's kind of weird and
it doesn't hold up.
Slightly lame, but it's actually really cool when you start seeing the Predator take form, when you actually see what it is, and all the intricate design that went into the creation of this character. I mean, the iconic figure that it is.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the effects, for lack of a better way of saying it, look like horse shit. They're really
the movie
bad.
did come out in 1987,
but
they basically didn't even have computers back then.
But like you said, the costume design and the makeup for the actual creature and everything, and some of the gore effects, like the people being skinned and Carl Weathers' arm getting blown off and everything, that stuff's all terrific. But everything with the being invisible and the shooting out the plasma rifle and everything, that all just kind of looks bad. But it has that kind of heart to it because you see the age of the film and it doesn't take you out of the experience or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just, as somebody who's looking at it, you're just kind of like, oh, wow, that didn't age very well. But I can look past it. Because Carl Weathers
honestly,
is still a badass.
But when you see the Predator in the film, it's you can take
awesome.
that exact same everything, put it into a movie nowadays, and it would be just as good as anything else that's currently coming out.
Yeah, the creature design itself.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's unbelievably
Especially when he
amazing.
takes the mask off and going face to face, and he's like, "You
And Arnold's
ugly
like,
motherfucker,"
ugly motherfucker.
which is actually something that comes back in all the Predator movies, and
Yep.
it was kind of weird, especially when it came back up in one that I will bring up later.
Predator 2.
No,
Predator.
Alien versus Predator is the one I'm thinking of, when they have to cut out the motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, that movie's just a big giant disappointment, but we'll get to that in a couple minutes.
That we will. Let's move on to
The real Predator movie, Predator 2.
Yeah,
Obviously,
buddy.
you can go your whole life talking about movies, and everybody always says, you know what? There's no sequel that is ever better than the original. And
Aliens.
in this case, it's absolutely correct. Yeah, took you a second.
I
But
see
yeah,
where you were headed. with
Predator
that.
2 is fucking... It's not... No, I'm sorry, it's garbage.
The first 40 to 50 minutes of this movie is pretty hot garbage.
Poor,
The
very
last
poor.
40 minutes, like in the scene when they're in the warehouse with all the hanging meat and everything, and Gary Busey gets chopped in half, and on, is actually pretty cool. Because I do like the ending, even though it doesn't hold up very well, because the effects in this movie look even worse than the first one,
They do.
dating-wise. But I still love it when he kills the Predator in the ship at the end of the movie. By the way, spoiler alert if you haven't seen these movies. And the other Predators kind of like pop up. And there's like 3 or 4 of them, and he's like, "Fine, do what you gotta do." Like, I did what I had to. Go ahead and kill me. I like that scene.
I think he says, "Who's next?"
Does he?
I think it's more of like, all right, who's next?
I wasn't really paying attention. This movie sucks.
Well, like I can understand that. I just think that it's kind of funny because the movie is set in the future, but it's only set in the future like 7 years. So it was made around like 89, 90, and it's like this time, Los Angeles, 1997. And I think that's only funny because having lived through 1997 and being able to look back at 1997, it's like, it's just weird to think of a futuristic movie being set in 97.
Well,
I don't know why I find that so strange. I just really find it strange.
I don't know if this had anything to do with it whatsoever. But you had all the Death Wish sequels coming out, and they were making a crap ton of money. And for some reason, the opening scene of this movie reminds me a lot of Death Wish, specifically Death Wish 3. It probably has nothing to do with it whatsoever, but all it is just like that opening shootout with all the drug dealers and everything, and it's just establishing that Danny Glover's just this badass cop, and he'll stop at nothing, and he'll even ram a car with just Kevlar vests in the windows, and
And
do
see,
what's
and
gotta
that
be
was
done.
like, that's why I think the movie is so cool, because I actually envision Predator 2 being a prequel of Lethal Weapon.
I can see that.
And I think it's Danny Glover's kind of transition into Lethal Weapon. Like, this is the shit that made him feel like he's too old for this shit. And I you gotta give him credit, because hey, if you fought another alien, or an alien, sorry, from another planet, I feel like that's about enough. Like anything else that comes up, it's kind of just like a tedious activity. Like, these Chinese immigrants and like all this like slavery stuff that's going on in my back door. I got to deal with this. Like, I'm gonna deal with it because that's my job. But I'm kind of over this crap. Can it really, can it get a little harder? It's just a tedious act of having to save all these people and save the day and fight Jet Li with my good pal Mel Gibson. I mean, come on, give me a break here. I just want to be on my boat with Joe Pesci and catch sharks.
But then it takes a turn for kind of the more depressing when you realize that he still hasn't given it up even after that. and he starts chasing after the Jigsaw killer, and he becomes obsessed with going
Yeah.
back to his police roots, and he ends up
Well, I
getting
mean, you know,
killed in
he's
Saw.
he's a workaholic. He's just a workaholic. Guy'll never retire.
No,
And
but
he shouldn't, because he's
ended
good at what he does.
he ended up getting killed in the Saw
very
movies, and it
No,
was
I
quite sad.
think he actually did not die, though.
No, he
Because he just recently was, like, in a couple other movies. So,
not as a cop.
that's fair.
Yeah, that was his last movie as a cop, and
That is fair.
he died. It was his reprisal of all these roles combined, and it ended with him getting stopped by the Jigsaw killer.
Yeah, so he can kill a predator.
Yep.
And
Jet
live
Li.
through a fight with Jet Li.
Yep.
But an old man with cancer got him.
But he
Yeah.
was old at the time too, so he was way too old for that shit.
Yeah, but he didn't have cancer, and that's kind of a big deal. It's a little serious.
It's debatable. So
So, yeah,
back to Predator 2. We got Bill Paxton and Gary Busey.
Bill Pax.
Yeah,
The
boy.
only man to be killed by both an alien and a predator, I believe.
And a Terminator.
And that's the trifecta. I knew there was a third one, I just couldn't think of it. But yeah, only man.
So, two of my favorite scenes I have written down here. One of them is the standoff with that sword cane dude. And the Predator's just like running up to him, and all of a sudden it cuts to a scream. And then you see the dude's severed head kind of get walking by.
Yeah,
It's so
that was cool.
It's so stupid, but I don't know why. I just really like that scene. And then I also really like the part where Danny Glover just got out of the that apartment building after he's chasing after the Predator, and the reporter comes up to him trying to interview him, and he punches the shit out of him and says "fuck you" and just keeps walking.
He does.
Those are my two
does do
favorite
that.
scenes of this movie.
I think my favorite scene has to be where, and this again to Bill Paxton's credit, the only man to ever do it. When he's on the train or the subway, he throws a golf ball at the Predator. Yeah, no one else has ever done that.
This
kinda
is
cool.
probably true.
Takes balls, I think, to throw a ball at the Predator.
But according to IMDb, there is hope that that may happen again. Because there's a movie called The Predator, which is made by Shane Black from the original Predator.
Yep.
That's supposed to come out later this year. So we shall
Sweet.
see.
I hope it has somebody really funny in it.
Jake Busey's in it.
No, he's not. Shut up.
Edward James Olmos. And
Isn't
Thomas Jane.
Keegan in it? Keegan Michael
Yep.
Key or whatever?
He's on the list.
That guy's funny.
Actually, this has a pretty cool cast. Alfie
I
Allen.
know it does. It's going to be great. It's going to be just as good as Predators, the next movie we get to talk about.
But before that,
Brad Score. Did he text it in?
that he emailed through text.
That's not a thing.
You don't know my life. I don't want your life. But so Brad for Predator, he gave it a 10 out of 10 and said, "Wish I had muscles like that."
That was the first movie.
That's kind of sad. And then for Predator 2, he said he gave it a 10 out of 10. It looks like, and he said
I wish I had muscles like that.
I wish I didn't. No, he didn't say that. He said that the opening scene and the scene with the Predator was the best.
Okay.
Yeah. That's, all right. Cool. So let's go on to Predators, which is directed by some Nimrod. Probably some loser.
I get it.
Zing!
And all those jokes are terrible.
So
Sorry.
when I'm watching this, I can't help but laugh. I love this movie. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed this one, but I can't help but laugh anytime Adrian Brody's in like a role trying to be a badass, because I just cannot take him seriously from like The Pianist and the Grand Budapest Hotel and all those movies. And then
It's got to be like the tough guy voice that he does.
he kind of tries to put on the Batman voice, like, "I'm a badass, and I'm here to save y'all." It just doesn't work.
No,
No.
doesn't. It's just it's just a bad and it's not even him as a person
No,
or his
he's a
persona,
great
his
actor.
muscular physique, anything like that. He's a fantastic actor. Easily one of my top 10 favorite actors.
And he doesn't
but
even
he
put in a bad performance in this movie.
No, not at all. You just have seen him in those scrawny little wiener type roles that you don't see it anymore. It's
you can't go from Wes Anderson movies to a movie produced by Robert Rodriguez. It just doesn't work.
You just can't.
Larry
Although I will point
Fishburne
out
can.
there is a movie that not many people have heard of or seen, but there's a movie called Wrecked that I bought on DVD quite a few years ago, and it's actually pretty cool. It's basically a single person film of Adrian Brody, who just basically wakes up from a car accident.
He got
And
wrecked.
he has to basically survive the situation, and it's a whole bunch of different stuff is thrown at him. But it's one of the finer points of his acting career, in my personal opinion, because anybody that can act on screen by themselves and make a watchable movie, there's nothing else you can do in that. I mean, you either have it or you don't, and he definitely has it, except in this movie, Predators, because I snicker the whole time.
Yeah, every time he's trying to be serious, you're just like, I just can't see it. But on the opposite end, one of my favorite modern day character actors, I love seeing him in everything, and I thought he did great in this one, is Walton Goggins.
Ooh, I was thinking that you were leaning towards
awesome.
Danny Trejo with that comment, but
No, Danny Trejo's awesome, but he always kind of plays the same character. But Walton Goggins is always just kind of back and forth with everything he plays, from his role in Vice Principals, his scene in episode in Sons of Anarchy, and then playing stuff in The Hateful Eight and Django Unchained and all that. He's just always so back and forth.
yeah, he's another actor that I don't think gets enough credit for what he does, because again, he's one of those guys that he gets on screen and he becomes the actor or the character. He's not.
Yeah.
He's never the same person.
No.
Although he's always kind of I can't think of the right word. I
Similar
want to
tropes.
say rapey, but I don't think rapey is the right word. But he's always kind of that creepy sort of persona.
Yeah, he fits a specific trope, and it's usually either a racist or a very flamboyant dude.
Yeah. He was great in House of a Thousand Corpses. I think that was one of the first movies where I started to realize that guy's fucking funny as hell.
Yeah, he's just breaking down crying, and then you have the 15-minute scene where a gun's pointed at his head, and they eventually pull the trigger.
Yep. Yeah. No, he's great, and that's another thing to credit this movie is that the cast is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of the misplaced Adrian Brody, I mean, he's still a great actor, and he did great in the movie, but you just laugh every time you see him trying to be a tough guy. But everybody else, I mean, Danny Trejo was fantastic. The guy who played Hanzo was great. The African guy, Mombasa. I apologize for not knowing these guys' names, but I mean, all of them fit the exact role that they were supposed to play. The Russian guy was awesome.
Yep.
Samuel L. Jackson was fantastic as the sort of nomad guy.
And Larry
That was great.
Fishburne.
Yeah, that was the joke. Because remember the one news reporter thought that Samuel L. Jackson was Lawrence Fishburne from the Capital One commercials.
Did you say Samuel Jackson?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
you totally
I didn't even catch
didn't
that.
hear what I said.
No,
Ah!
I wasn't paying attention. You got me.
But yeah, Lawrence Fishburne was great. I mean, he was, again, he's a great actor that has such a wide range, and he's this just delusional, messed up dude.
He was
He made
hilarious.
me feel uncomfortable watching that movie. I can't imagine what everybody else felt like being in that little tight space with him.
And this was the one role where that Nimrod director was just kind of hey, dude, you know how you're when you're just around me? Be that guy.
Did he whisper it like that?
Yeah, he said, be that guy. So Lawrence Fishburne was talking to his imaginary friends because he's just oh, what's up? That wasn't in the script. He was just be yourself, dude.
That's funny.
Another person in this, who you don't see his face because he usually plays like creatures. He played Jason in the newest Friday the 13th. Is Derek Mears. That dude's awesome. And if you don't know who Derek Mears is, look him up because he's in like everything nowadays.
Yeah, I think he does a lot of stunt work too. But yeah, he plays those kind of like the bigger,
More
like
intimidating
bad person
characters.
type of roles and stuff like that, monsters and whatnot. But yeah, he's oh god, of course now I can't think of the guy's name. The guy who used to always play Jason. He was in Kane Hodder.
Yeah,
Kane
he's
Hodder.
like the modern day Kane Hodder.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, it's like that respectable person that unless you're really into movies and you follow the guy's career, you never really would know who he was.
Yeah, he's like Doug
Because
Jones.
he's always behind a mask. Yeah, like Doug Jones, exactly.
Oh, you know Doug Jones?
Of course I know
Inside
Doug
joke.
Jones.
Inside joke.
Hellboy.
Inside joke. I can't remember. There's a friend of mine from back home. He has a story about that. For the life of me, I can't remember who he was talking about. But he met somebody at a convention and mentioned Doug Jones. And the guy goes, "Oh, you know Doug Jones?" So it's just kind of like I'm going to kick myself for not knowing it. But yeah, he's just like, "Oh, yeah, you know Doug Jones? Yeah, Doug Jones, he's the best." I can't
He's
remember
pretty
what it was.
great. The other guy, too, who plays one of the, or a couple other Predators, it looks like, is Brian Steele, who was actually in quite a few movies as well. He was in Hellboy as well.
Underworld Evolution.
And some of the Underworld movies. He played like a werewolf or something like that, I think.
He played the were hyena in Minotaur in Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues. This guy's the best.
Oh, wow, that's actually like a real statement. I thought you were just being stupid.
You've never seen Anchorman 2 with the were hyena and the Minotaur?
No, absolutely not. I saw the first Anchorman, and that's enough Anchorman for my life.
That's the best part of the movie. Don't watch the second movie. Just watch that scene online, because they have Will Smith shows up. They have Jim Carrey shows up. John C. Reilly plays the ghost of Stonewall Jackson. It's fucking hilarious. Just watch that scene.
It makes me want to watch the whole movie.
No, because they do the throwback to the first one where they have all the news stations in their big fight. But they get all these cameos all into the one scene, and they all fight. And they have a were hyena, a Minotaur, the ghost of Stonewall Jackson, and he's sucking souls out of everybody during the battle. It's fucking hilarious. Spoiler alert.
I will have to YouTube that for sure.
Do it, because it is hilarious.
He was in Monkey Bone. That movie's crazy.
We don't speak of that movie.
That movie is absolutely crazy. Anyways, yeah, back to Predators. Yeah, I think, the movie itself is definitely watchable. It's pretty cool. If you've never seen it, definitely check it out. Modern day Predators movie. I think it's pretty cool. I'd watch it again, for sure.
They really don't do anything wrong with the movie. They try new things, like kind of making it more of a game preserve kind of aspect to it, where it's like just a hunting ground, and they always reference the seasons and how they actually pull like different dangerous creatures from, you're assuming, around the universe, because you have that weird kind of like tall ass alien with its arms out and everything, and you assume that they're just like taking every dangerous creature that they can find and just putting them there just to show like, hey, we're better killers than everything else out there, which I think is a really cool concept. That it's all just kind of like an ego trip for the Predators to show that they're better than everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, either that or they're just like insatiably bored, and that's just what they do is like, oh, let's find some weird shit to go kill.
That could be it
back
too.
To this planet. And I thought that the Predator dogs were pretty cool too. Like to kind of see, like, a different variation kind of the species, so to speak, or whatever sort of dogs that they had. The thing that I didn't like though
was when Adrian Brody says that line, "Oh yeah, they're using that to kind of flush us out. It's a hunting technique." How do you know? Because that's what I would do.
Yes, that was very awful. But I was going to say, I didn't like the fact that they had kind of the two conflicting, I guess you could say, tribes, where there was like the smaller predator and then the bigger predators, and it's like, oh, I'm all tied up. You fucking let me go. Hey, that guy probably knows how to fly this spaceship. Like, that's just, and it feels like it came from the next movie we're going to talk about, and that's one of the biggest things that I
hated that about Alien vs. Predator.
That movie. Is it's like, oh, god damn it, this is a predator, he's supposed to be hunting you and killing you, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you untied me, like, let's be best fucking buds now, let's go back to your place and sit on your double-decker couch, and we can have a few beers while we watch TV.
I think it's hard for them to explain what was actually going on between those predators, like why he was tied up, and because
that's because it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, but
stupid.
What I'm saying is, I don't think that they really needed that, but I get what they were trying to do by saying, hey, I was tied up for whatever the hell reason why. I'm not here to help you guys survive. I just want to kick the shit out of them for tying me up, for whatever may have happened. But
it's dumb.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
The movie, though, is pretty good.
No, I love it.
In the grand scheme of things, outside of that small
I can forgive that.
It's definitely cool.
But this movie, Alien vs. Predator, I cannot forgive, and I would not be able to forgive myself if we once again skipped Brad's review. Looked like Brad gave Predators looks like a... I gotta pull it up on my phone real quick.
Let me guess. 7 out of 10.
No, he actually gave it a 10 out of 10, it looks like.
Oh, okay.
He said, Google Gobble, you'll be one of us. What the fuck? Oh, he's referencing Freaks.
Did Google Translate, not come through or something?
No, he's making a reference to Todd Browning's Freaks from 1932, saying, Google Gobble, we'll make you one of us. He's probably saying, the Predators or... I don't know what the fuck he was saying. But he gave it a 10 out of 10. Maybe he's just trying to throw in a little one-liner to throw us off. You know, that little goofball brother of ours. But, anyways.
On to the next movie.
Aliens versus
if you could
Predators.
Even call it a movie.
I would call it a movie. I wouldn't call it a good movie. And I think the biggest problem with this one is that they tried to get Paul Thomas Anderson to direct it. But unfortunately, they had to settle with Paul W.S. Anderson. And he's a much less qualified director to be making movies than Paul Thomas Anderson.
There is a big difference there, for sure.
I
would comfortably say that this movie is one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Because I've always loved the Alien franchise. It is my absolute favorite franchise of all films. Predator is also up there as well. And you combine the two, hey, guess what? We're going to have a good time. Nobody had a good time with this movie. This movie is just straight, dirty, disgusting crap.
All the 13 and 14-year-olds who were allowed to see it in theaters finally had a good time with it.
They sure did, because, hey, we've got 2 R-rated franchises with a bunch of blood, gore, guts, and cool killing, and, we're going to tone that down, because we're bringing them together, so they're going to hold hands and, maybe touch each other's butts or something. Who knows?
You know, you always have the unrated version of it with 13 seconds of extra footage that would have made it R. So
there's no redeeming quality of this movie in any way, shape, or form.
I will say there's one redeeming quality of this movie, and that's Lance Hendrickson.
The end credits.
No, Lance Hendrickson. Because that dude's awesome in everything. He plays Bishop in the original Aliens movies.
Yeah, I know that.
I don't think you did.
But would you guess, is he a clone in this movie, or is he the original Bishop?
No, he plays Wayland in this one.
No, but he plays Charles Bishop Wayland. But again, you have to ask yourself, is he still just a clone in this movie, or is he the original Wayland?
I would say I really don't give a shit.
Okay, that's fair. Totally fair. I understand that.
I see where you're going with that.
We're going to take it to the next level. There are a couple actors in this movie that I actually respect still, even though they were in this movie. But Tommy Flanagan and Ewan Bremner, great actors, kind of character roles and stuff like that. They were mediocre at best in this movie because the movie itself is garbage. I don't know if I've pointed that out yet or not. But outside of that, yeah, it's cool. You got like 3 different variations of the Predator. They got, different tools and stuff like that. But, they get their ass whooped, 2 of them, by a single Predator, or a single alien, sorry.
Yeah.
So they're not around very long. Kind of seems stupid to me to have this, super big Predator guy with all these tools and all these weapons and all this shit, and it's like, oh, we're like the best hunters in the world, and one little pissant alien is going to take us both out.
Yeah.
Kind of strange, if you ask me.
And of course, that whole thing at the end that we already mentioned with the girl teaming up with the Predator.
Buddies, and we're gonna hold hands
and
while
in
we
this
kill
one,
the Queen Alien together, and we can like become pen pals across the galaxy because we can stay in each other's lives, and maybe get like a room together where we get like a 2-bedroom apartment in downtown New York, and we can have brunch every Saturday together while we live and talk about our lives together. Fucking no!
And
There's
then
a goddamn alien that's supposed to be here to kill you
right
from
at
outer
the
fucking
end,
space.
right at
You're
the
not
end,
friends.
the Predator's like, "Hey, we should hang out after this," and she says, "Ooh, I'm sorry, I only
have a
see you as your
boyfriend."
friend."
I have a boyfriend. God, don't talk to me. I have a boyfriend.
The Predator got friend zoned.
Got friend zoned and immediately confused, and that's why he went and had a baby with the alien. And then we get the other giant pile of not as much shit, Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
Ooh, but that's for next time.
We are going to save the franchise, but yes, for next time.
Yeah, I
Get our thoughts on that.
I'm not looking forward to that one because I've watched it since seeing it in theaters, and it's bad.
It's bad, but it's not as bad because it gives you what you want.
It's still pretty fucking bad.
No, but at least it gives you what you want.
But it kind of gives you less of what you want.
There's no fucking alien and human being that become best friends at the end of the movie that gives us what we want. Because that's not what we fucking want. I want anything except for that.
That's what I wanted out of the movie.
I was so pumped.
I was
so
very,
pumped for this movie when it came out.
Happy that
Alien vs. Predator.
the main character became best friends with the Predator because sometimes when I'm sitting in my room alone, I think I want to become friends with a Predator, and it actually happened in this movie.
Don't.
And my dream came true, and that makes me very happy.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad movie. And even the whole premise where they're like, oh, we're exploring possibly the first pyramid ever made. It has signs from 3 different cultures. And then they show up there and they find aliens and penguins. There's literally fucking penguins right outside the oldest structure known to possibility.
Which is funny because the whole structure, as we know now, it was created by predators. So you have to imagine that the predators came to this planet with this, or brought to this planet, penguins from wherever the fuck they actually came from, and then hunted penguins.
Probably.
Could you imagine, like, how lopsided that sort of thing would be? Like,
Unless
that's
penguins...
a trophy. That's got to be a trophy that some made fun of in his or her peers predator has. Like, oh, you guys, they're out at the bar out in Predatorville, whatever, and you guys remember when we brought those little those scary, like, you know, webbed foot, sort of black and white with yellow beak creatures to the planet? We killed them all, and like I still have my trophies from that. Do you guys remember? Those are ferocious. Like, totally ferocious.
You realize the penguins may have evolved from a more ferocious being and had to devolve into a penguin because the predators only attack creatures and stuff with like weapons or stuff like that. So maybe penguins had like giant fangs and claws that'll bite you right in the neck.
No. I don't see that happening. I think that's probably just like back when they kind of first started. So they were kind of like, it was like a stretch because they couldn't find any other like species, you know, around the galaxy and whatnot. And that was like one of the first things that they found. So they just convinced themselves that they could be dangerous, and they'd kind of like sit there up in the tree with camouflage, and they'd be like, well, you know, like I could kill it, or I could like wait for it to do something bad, and it could be really bad. So I should probably just kill it first, because I don't know what that would be. It could be really bad. I mean, he's sliding down that iceberg right now, and it looks like a lot of fun, but that actually could be like a call for help. Yeah, it's probably a call for help.
Okay.
I'm gonna kill this fucking thing.
Don't hurt yourself.
And then the penguin
kaboom.
blows up.
Okay, so that I believe wraps up.
It would make a much better movie than Alien vs Predator. That's for damn sure.
Well, no shit, because this movie is bad, and I always get the urge to rewatch it, like once every 3 or 4 years, because I'm like,
No,
how bad could it be? And then
I didn't even
like
rewatch it for this podcast.
15 minutes in, and it's just like
No, it's terrible.
disappointing as saggy titties.
Although there's only one small thing that is good that came out of this movie.
My attention.
Is they had. Shut the fuck up! The guy was tired. God damn it!
It's awesome.
No. They had a line of toys that came out, and I believe at the time I was still working at Toys R Us, so I got the whole line, and I've got all the different ones, all of the action figures. Yeah, they're fucking cool, and they're like expensive now, so like I could retire, but I'm not gonna sell them.
Alien
so.
versus Predator toys. I bet they'll pay you
action
just to not
figures.
send them to you.
No, they're actually worth like a couple $100 a piece.
Are they?
Yeah, there's like 6 of them.
Damn. You should sell them. That's like $1 million.
No, it's not, and no, I won't.
Oh. My bad. Oh, so Brad's score for Alien versus Predator. Before I forget, he gave
If it's anything more than 0 out of 10, I will probably never talk to him tomorrow.
Well, it looks like you're not going to be talking to him because he gave it a 10 out of 10.
Jesus.
He said P.T. Anderson did a great job adapting the 2 characters into one film.
He didn't even fucking direct it!
Yeah. I think he's mixing up Magnolia and There Will Be Blood for the guy who made Mortal Kombat and the Resident Evil franchise.
Oh my God. And Death Race 4. Beyond Our Anarchy.
I think he did all the Death
He
Race
did all
movies.
of the Death Race.
Yeah.
Death Race Inferno. That is a movie that I still have to watch someday.
And he also made Event Horizon, which was actually a pretty cool
Did he?
movie. Yeah.
That movie
That's like
was actually pretty cool.
That's like his one good movie.
I mean, the Mortal Kombat movie was pretty cool.
Like I said, it's like his one good movie. The only thing that the Mortal Kombat movie was missing was Jean-Claude Van Damme playing the role of Johnny Cage. Did you know he turned that shit down? They said, hey, want to play the character in a movie that's
And you
based
were
off of
fucking
you?
created over?
Yeah, and he's like, no, I'd rather make a good movie.
Well, I mean, you know what would
And
have
then
made
he made
Predator
Street
even better
Fighter.
is if Jean-Claude Van Damme played the Predator in it. I mean, that would have been cool, right?
Oh, wait.
Wait.
He did.
Int.
Oh, my bad.
He wussed out like a big giant wussy.
Yeah, fuck Jean-Claude Van Damme. I'd take back that first episode.
No, that first episode was awesome.
It
He's fantastic. He's a great man.
Did you just assume his fucking gender?
I made a pretty strong presumption. Yes, I did.
Touche.
I think that that pretty much wraps up our all Alien episode.
Yeah, I can't think of any movies we're missing with our aliens discussion, or talking
Not a
about
single one.
movies with aliens, or like a resurrection of aliens, or even
No,
a
or
third
like 3
alien movie,
of Aliens or anything
Yeah.
like that.
or like
if
even
there was, like, a third one.
like even if there's like a covenant of films with aliens, or
Yeah.
or
You kind of have to go all the way back to the Stone Age and ask Prometheus if there
God
was
damn it! I was about to make
another
that
set.
one.
Yeah, well, I fucking did it first.
Yeah, and then I hope there's like a requiem that we can get for another episode with Alien versus Predator, but we'll see.
Yeah, it'd be cool if we
Yeah.
could an alien movie.
But I think we hit every alien movie.
Do you get it? No, do you get it? You have to get it though.
Every alien movie
An
ever
alien
made.
movie.
No.
On
this episode.
Tell me you fucking got it.
And that's it, everybody. Have a great
No,
day. And I am
I'm
turning
not ending this until you admit that you
it
got that joke.
off. I get it. It's a joke for aliens. Have a good one.
Yes!